Hello Worthington Juniors. This video is all about surface area. First of all, just so you know what surface area is, it's the total area of all of the faces and curved surfaces of a three-dimensional figure. Now when talking about surface area, we're going to talk a lot about something called lateral area. Lateral area of a prism is the sum of the areas of the lateral faces. Well, knowing what lateral area is in terms of lateral faces doesn't always help a whole lot of us. How I like to remember lateral area is it's what gets wrapped around. If you think about the bases or what it could sit on, the two that are alike, in this case a triangle or a square, the lateral area is what gets wrapped around. Think about a pop can. The bottom and the top are a circle. Those are your bases. What gets wrapped around is your lateral area. And with a pop can, what gets wrapped around is a rectangle. So we'd be finding the area of the rectangle so that we'd have the area of that lateral surface. Okay, formulas. If we are looking at any kind of right prism, the formula for the surface area is going to be in terms of the lateral area. So first let's talk about the lateral area. The lateral area of a right prism with the base has a perimeter P and a height of H is going to be lateral area equals the perimeter times the height. Let's talk about why. Here is a triangular prism. Notice the two bases are triangle and the lateral is made up of three rectangles. If we unfold this three-dimensional figure and create its net, we see here are the two bases, and here are the three rectangles that wrap around to create that lateral surface. Now, if you notice again as we unwrap, A, B, and C, when added together, become the side length of that rectangle. Now when you add A, B, and C, that was actually just the perimeter of the triangle on the bottom here. So if we added A, B, and C, that's the perimeter of the base triangle. And if we notice, A, B, and C also created the length of a rectangle. And we know to find the area of a rectangle, we would take length times width, or in this case, perimeter times the height of the three-dimensional figure. So that's why lateral area is described as perimeter times height. So to find the surface area of any right prism, what we're going to do is we're going to take the lateral area and combine it with two of the bases, two of the area of the bases. Notice capital B stands for base area. It's not just a number in the picture. It is an area that we need to calculate first, so we've got to remember to do that. So we're going to take the lateral area and combine it with the base area times 2 because there are two identical bases. Again, in this case, two identical triangles. Both bases would have the same area. Let's remember when we do this, lateral area is going to be the same as the perimeter times the height. Now, if you have a cube, a perfect cube, there is a shortcut. The lateral area isn't really any different no matter how the box is sitting. Nothing really changes. So to find the surface area of a cube, we simply take 6 times s squared. S squared represents the area of one square, and there are 6 identical squares. So we take 6 times s squared to get the surface area of a cube. All right, let's try two examples. Here are two right prisms. What's important to remember here is that they are called right prisms, which means we have some kind of right angle. And in this case, we would have rectangles that would stand nicely. And in this case, we have triangles, and we actually happen to have a right angle on that triangle. That's going to help us find the area much more efficiently and quicker. Okay, here we go. Let's find the surface area of this rectangular prism. Let's remember our formula is surface area equals lateral area plus 2 times the base. Well, to get lateral area, we're going to have to take the perimeter times the height. Okay, so to do that, we're going to have to actually calculate what is the perimeter. When I talk about perimeter, I'm talking about the perimeter of the base. So we're talking about 9 plus 7 plus 9 plus 7. Okay, so that's going to be our perimeter. And the height is going to be the height of the object. Okay, and then we're going to take 2 times the base. Capital B is actually going to be the area of the base. Okay, so let's look at what we've got here. It says surface area is going to equal the perimeter, which is 32. That's 9 plus 7 plus 9 plus 7 times 14, which is the height, plus 2, which is in the formula, and then capital B. Capital B is the area of the base, and that base was a 9 by 7 rectangle. So now if we simply do our calculations, we find surface area to be 48 plus 2 times 63, which is 48 plus 126. Check your calculators if you like, which ends up being a total of 574 feet squared. Surface area is still an area. An area is always in units squared. All right, let's try this one more time with the triangular prism. Now, if you didn't know that this was a right triangle, how could you find out? Well, you could double check using Pythagorean theorem. We could check 3 squared plus 4 squared. Does it equal 5 squared? Because 5 is that third length on the triangle. Don't know my shapes today. So if we have a triangle, we can check to see if it's a right triangle by using Pythagorean theorem. And if it is true that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then you know you have a right angle across from the longest side. So if we check this, we have 9 plus 16 equals 25. Is that true? Yes. 25 equals 25. Because they were the same, I know I have a right angle. So not only in the directions did it tell me I had a right prism, but I could double check and find that out for myself. Now, why is that helpful? Well, we have to find capital B, which is the area of the base. And the only way to find the area of a triangle is to take 1/2 base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. So in this case, that triangle's dimensions need to make a right angle. When we find the area of a triangle, we have to have that right angle. Okay, here we go. Remember, surface area is lateral area plus 2 times the base. Lateral area is found by taking the perimeter of the base times the height. That's going to be the area of all these rectangles around it. So perimeter is going to be 5 plus 3 plus 4. We're going to have 12 there. Height, 2 plus 2 times the base. Well, capital B is the area of the base, and that base is a triangle. So we're going to need to take 1/2, 3 times 4, which is what we should see here. Perimeter of 12, height of 2, plus 2 times the area of that triangle, which is 1/2 times 4 times 3. Okay, let's do a little bit of calculations here. We're going to get 24 plus 2 times 6, which is 24 plus 12, which ends up being a total of 36 centimeters squared as a surface area. So, actually, what you should notice is that this was a rectangular prism and this was a triangular prism. Yeah, they look a little different, but we found area in the same way. We always took lateral area plus 2 times the base. Now, what was a little bit different? Well, the base here was a rectangle, so we took length times width, and the base over here was a triangle, so we took 1/2 base of the triangle, height of the triangle. So, that's all you really need to keep in mind with prisms. Now, that was one type of shape. We need to keep moving on from prisms. Next, we have cylinders. So we need to talk about how to find the surface area of a cylinder. And actually what you will find is we're going to use that same formula. Surface area, again, is going to equal the lateral area plus 2 times the base. But what is the lateral area of a cylinder going to be? Well, if we, again, unfold it and find its net, remember a net is what the 3-dimensional figure would look like on a piece of paper, kind of what you would cut out in order to fold it into the shape. Once we cut that out, we notice the height stays the same, but this piece that got wrapped around the can ends up being a rectangle whose length is the same as the circumference. So we had perimeter before when we had rectangles and triangles, and now we're going to have circumference. And if you remember your formula for circumference, that's 2 pi r. So lateral area, again, is your perimeter times your height. It's just when we have circles, we don't call it perimeter, we call it circumference. And circumference has its own formula, which is 2 pi r. So we're taking what was perimeter times height and now making it circumference times height, which is 2 pi r. So surface area, again, is going to be lateral plus 2 times the base, and lateral area is going to be circumference times height plus 2 times the base. And to find the area of a triangle, that is pi r squared. So really, we're going to be using 2 pi r h plus 2 pi r squared to find the surface area of a cylinder. Let's go ahead and give this a try. Notice the base are the 2 identical shapes, which are the circles on the left and right hand side. So when we talk about height of the cylinder, that's really 5 meters this time. Now notice 2 is the diameter of the circle. We're going to need radius, because when we find the area of a circle or the circumference of a circle, we use radius, not diameter. So if you remember, radius equals half of the diameter, and therefore radius equals half of 2, so our radius is 1. So when you see me plug in 1, it's because that's what the radius of the circle is. Again, 2 is the diameter, 1 is the radius. Okay, so surface area, again, lateral area plus 2 times the base. Great, let's do this. Lateral area is circumference times height plus 2 times the base. Well, how do we find the area of a circle? Pi r squared. Okay, let's plug in what we know. 2, pi, constants, r, 1, h, 5, 2, pi, constant, r, 1, and we're going to square it. So that's all you see here is that 1 was plugged in for r and 5 is plugged in for h. Now if we simplify, we end up with 10 pi plus 2 pi. 2 times 1 times 5 is 10, and 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. So we have 10 pi plus 2 pi, which gives us a surface area of 12 pi meters squared. That is the exact surface area. So if we're looking for exact surface area, notice I left it in terms of pi. Now if we wanted an approximate surface area, we would need to take 12 and multiply it times pi. And when we do that, we get approximately 37.699 meters squared. So both answers are accurate. 12 pi is exact, and 37.699 is an estimate, a rounded version of it. Okay, so 2 shapes down. We've covered prisms and we've covered cylinders. Prisms and cylinders are similar in the fact that we simply took lateral area and added 2 times the area of the base. So we use the same formula, we just happen to have rectangles and triangles and those sort of shapes with prisms, and we have circles when we deal with cylinders. That was the only difference there. Now we're going to move on to pyramids and cones. Okay, the lateral area of a pyramid, if we unfold this one, this isn't quite the full net, you would still have a rectangle in one of the, or a square in one of these spots. But this is the net of what the lateral side would look like. And notice it's not quite the full rectangle anymore. And if we really look, see these 3 triangles, and this is a half, this is a half, that actually ends up being 4 triangles. So what we actually have is the lateral area. It's going to be half the area of that rectangle. And the area of that rectangle is going to be that perimeter times the height. So if we took perimeter times height, we'd get the area of this whole rectangle. Well, the blue space only takes up half of that. That's why our lateral area is half perimeter times cursive L. Okay, let's talk about this. Cursive L is called the slant height. If we notice, the height of this triangle is not this height that goes straight up into the air vertically. It's the one that leans in on the triangle. That's why it's called a slant height, because it's slanted. So we're going to need to use slant height in this case. So again, lateral area is going to be half the perimeter times the slant height. And surface area is going to be that lateral area plus 1 base. Why is it only 1 base this time? Because a pyramid comes up to a point. So we're going to have 1 base and then our half of our lateral area, half perimeter times slant height. Alright, let's give this a try. When we have a pyramid, the only thing that's really changed in the general basic formula right here is that we are only adding base, not 2 bases, because there is only 1. So lateral area is going to be half perimeter times slant height, and the base in this case is going to be a rectangle or a square, which is going to be 16 times 16. So we're really going to need half the perimeter times the slant height plus base. Now, do we know the slant height? Let's look at the picture. 15 happens to be the vertical height. The slant height is right here. We don't know the slant height. What we do know, though, is that this is 15 And this, look, this whole side is 16. That means if that was right in the middle, that side is 8. So what I see there is a right triangle. And if you remember anything from the Pythagorean video or your lessons in class, is when we have a right triangle, we can use Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. Well, what is that third side? Notice the third side is across from the right angle, and therefore it's the hypotenuse of that right triangle. So we're going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared in order to find out that slant height. So our slant height is going to equal 15 squared plus 8 squared. So slant height squared equals 15 squared plus 8 squared.